Meeting, the ayes have it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And this resolution this afternoon, sir, or these two resolutions, I should say, are important with respect to how we continue to finance the development of this country, sir. Now, I know that in some quarters, sir, there's an idea that the government is borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, sir. And it is a false narrative from the perspective that part of the reason that governments exist is to improve, sir, the lives of its citizens. And given all that we have endured, sir, in these last 7 years, and what the country was faced with in the previous 10, sir, one must come to the appreciation, sir, that inasmuch as this government has done a lot to restore much of the macroeconomic fundamentals, sir, the reality is that Barbados, sir, is still very much playing catch-up. And as we continue, sir, to restore confidence right across this society, sir, there are aspects of the country's development that really has not been continuously supported in the way that it could have. And this resolution, specifically order number 11, sir, speaks to development to finance the urban renewal projects, sir, in the water, housing, and infrastructure sectors. And let me, for the benefit of the public, break this right down simply, sir, because this is not anything fancy as people might want to portray. This relates, sir, to how people live in this country. Let me take you back, sir, just a few years, because when I say that we are still playing catch-up, I think I want the public to appreciate that the decisions that a government might make over time, sir, they really do have consequences. In 2008, sir, April 30th, I think to be precise, sir, an agreement between the Inter-American Development Bank, sir, and the government of Barbados was signed in order to improve housing, sir, the neighborhood improvement project, sir, in Bridgetown, sir. $40 million US to be precise, sir, which if deployed in the way that it was deployed at that time, because as you know, sir, government is a continuum. So whilst that would have been signed in April of 2008, it meant that all the preparatory work, sir, would have started prior to the election of 2008, sir. And therefore, had those resources been deployed at that time for the benefit of the citizens of this country, sir, I will not be here today to raise a resolution which is seeking the Parliament's permission to access resources now from the Saudi Fund for Development, sir, to do the exact same thing that was envisaged to be done for the benefit of the people in Chapman Lane, Cat's Castle, and across urban Barbados, sir. The Garden Land, the entire corridor, sir. The entire corridor. That now some 17 years after the fact, having gone through all that we've had to go through in the last 7 years, sir, now having to find resources again to do the very thing that the government has set out to do more than 17 years ago. And so I say to the public, sir, when the last administration canceled unceremoniously, sir, the loan agreement, without any other alternative in place for how it was going to improve the neighborhood of those communities, improving the housing stock in those communities, sir, reduce the flooding risk in those communities, sir. And as you may very well remember, sir, when we came to office, in everything that we had to do, and the Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central can recall, we did quite a bit of work on government's budget, addressing a number of issues in the Murphy's Pastor area as it related to flooding, sir, which the very neighborhood upgrade program, all of that was part of, sir, that we had to do in the midst of a debt restructuring, in the midst of everything that was happening in the country, sir. We made it a priority to address those issues on budget, sir, but still in a very limited way because you still had other things to do. And so whilst that work is not yet fully complete, it is our intention that with this specific resolution before Parliament today, sir, and that of the other one which I will speak to very briefly, that I hope citizens will appreciate that we have to see things through because as I say, sir, time is money. And whilst it takes time to spend money, sir, the reality is that if you don't execute these things early enough, sir, then it means that the benefits for the very people, sir, for the very people, our people, sir, are delayed. And so this resolution is here before this chamber this afternoon to restart, sir, a process that was started some 17, 18 years ago. And I hope that the people in Bridgetown, the people, or let me say the greater Bridgetown area, who will benefit from this specific intervention and a series of interventions, because this is just phase one, sir, of this particular exercise, in order for us to be able to address those things that we know need to be addressed as government. And therefore, when we speak to how we are proactively managing not just the fiscal situation, sir, but seeking alternative financing arrangements in place with other, in this case, bilateral loans facilitated through the Saudi Fund for Development, sir, that we are doing so with our people, sir, front and center of the public policy framework. And so this is an important intervention today, sir. And I will just very quickly go through the terms of this specific agreement, sir, which will be over 20 years, sir, with a 5-year grace period, 3.5% per annum, sir, and it will include the natural disaster clauses as has become customary, sir, with respect to our debt framework. Now, sir, this Parliament, in approving this resolution this afternoon, will allow us to be able to unlock roughly $38 million US, sir, with respect to this particular project. The purpose, sir, is to improve and revitalize housing and neighborhood conditions, sir, for low-income communities in the Bridgetown area as part of how we will be able to build resilience, sir, and greater climate resilience in the community. It will also contribute to providing additional affordable housing solutions, sir, for those families. And there's a third component, sir, that speaks to how do you strengthen the Rural and Urban Development Commission such that the work that it is already doing, that it can actually help deliver the works in a much more efficient, sir, and seamless manner, in a way that allows us then to be able to execute and respond to our citizens. The first phase, sir, as I said, sir, providing appropriate infrastructure and social facilities in the Chapman Lane area and its suburbs, which lie between President Kennedy Drive, sir, Westbury Road, Baxter's Road, through the bridge, through the street, Princess Alice Highway, and Prescott Boulevard, sir. And as we have indicated, sir, the residential housing development that we anticipate will take place from engaging this particular loan this afternoon, construction of and connection to the sewage treatment system in the Bridgetown area, sir, constructing sewage tanks and connecting them to the local sewage system, sir, upgrading the low and middle income residential houses, including retrofitting homes, sir, to be able to withstand hurricanes and other climate adaptation solutions that may be warranted, sir. Building sanitary facilities, as you know, sir, they're still within parts of urban Barbados. There's still a number of homes that will still utilize pit toilets, sir, and part of the upgrades that we anticipate will be part of this will be able to finally, sir, put to rest the issue of pit toilets in this country, and to be able to also install personal water tanks, sir, with small pumps and batteries for power outages, sir. And there's a lot more, but the reality is, sir, that this goes to the heart as to how government, as part of how we build resilience for the country, you're seeing lots of infrastructural and commercial infrastructural redevelopment in Bridgetown. And this government, we have, and the Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central can attest that we're planning gains were appropriate. We've asked investors to put monies aside to be able to help augment some of what we are doing here by having neighborhood upgrades and infrastructure as part of the planning gains process. But given that you're seeing a lot of development on the commercial side, government has put a lot of investment in some of the public spaces. This particular intervention, sir, is now intended to be able to address residents of the greater Bridgetown area, and also helping them to be able to upgrade their homes such that it isn't just the interests of commercial activity that are being served, but that the government is also ensuring that there's an opportunity for persons to get access to better homes, climate resilient homes, sir, in order to ensure then that their circumstances can be improved, sir. And as you know, sir, the ability to pass a home from one generation to the next is important, and therefore we have to make sure that, as far as possible, that the quality of those assets being passed on can actually be of some financial benefit, sir, to the family that can be utilized moving forward. And so we are very much focused, sir, on these matters. Now, the reality is that had that previous loan not been canceled, sir, we would have been talking about phase 2 and 3 of the same project, because as I said, we are starting with the Chapman Lane area, then we will move around to the Halls Road side, and then further up to the Bayland. But the reality is that we need to get these things going. And was, as you will recall, sir, we had announced in the budget earlier this year the Resilience and Regeneration Fund, that we will be focusing on those who are most vulnerable outside of this particular area, to ensure that persons can have the same quality of upgrade within this construct, whilst the official phase 2 and 3 may start at some point later with the Saudi Fund for Development. But this is something that we are committed, sir, committed to ensuring that across Barbados, more generally, but this is specifically for urban Barbados, our commitment as the government is to build resilience, improve the housing stock across the country, allowing people to sleep a little more comfortably when the night comes, sir, when the high winds start to blow, and therefore not have to fear, sir, that the house may blow away in a storm. And therefore, this particular resolution allows us to be able to address some of these issues, as I said, belatedly, sir, but we are here, and it is our intention to ensure that once these loan agreements are signed, that we get to work with respect to the business of building the resilience with the assistance of the Saudi Fund for Development. And so the reality of this is that we have to do that which now has been delayed. And I urge certainly the stakeholders within the not just government, but equally the private interest, the landlords, the landowners, the residents, that there will be disruption in these neighborhoods as the improvements set in. Obviously, there will be issues in relation to traffic as these developments take place. And therefore, you really cannot get the improved quality of life without some level of disruption, positive disruption in this case, sir. And therefore, I urge at the outset, sir, patience. And of course, there will be a lot of dust and things about the way, sir. But at the end of it, we hope that we're able to see a much more, not just climate resilient communities across Barbados, but much more financial resilient communities, and communities that are closer knit with respect to accessing better facilities for social activities, as well as more comfortable housing as well within that. And so this is critically important as we also address some of the long-standing sanitary issues that arise. I think one of the greatest with the word I'm looking for, injustices, sir, is that when the sewage plant was built in Emerton Lane, that the homes were not connected as part of the social responsibility. But we will address that, sir, as part of this exercise to ensure that the communities have access to better quality water and sanitation. And as you know, sir, the government of Barbados has committed itself to upgrading not just the Bridgetown plant, but the South Coast plant to tertiary, sir, treatment. And therefore, as part of how we are able to address the country's overall water management issues, we are confident that these interventions and how a lot more residents are connected to these systems allows us the greatest level of efficiency and access to treated water, such that between our aquifers as well as the agricultural and food security initiatives, that we can have those addressed adequately, sir. And so this is a very important resolution before the Chamber today, and I hope that we are able to see full implementation of this, and rest assured that with the will of the people, we will continue to implement this program to ensure then that the persons within the context of the city will be things. So I just wanted to assure Barbadians that this is just phase one of this project, which is critically important if we are going to address a number of the social issues that arise in this space. The other resolution, sir, speaks to the work that we know also must do within our polyclinic upgrade and refurbishment of the primary healthcare system. So whilst we are focusing on, yes, improving the housing stock, providing greater social facilities to cater to the residents of Greater Bridgetown. As you would know, we have an overall strategy with respect to urban renewal as well as regeneration across the country. Within the context of what we're doing with the education reform, the Saudi Fund for Development is also supporting, sir, the upgrades of our polyclinics. As you are well aware, sir, we have had polyclinics in existence for a long time in this country, sir. The last polyclinic that was constructed was in St. John, sir, in the early 2000s. And as we see how we are going to manage not just NCDs, but ensure that within our communities across Barbados, that access to the interventions that are appropriate, given the onset of NCDs across the country, we need now to ensure that the delivery and access to our primary healthcare system is boosted, as we are working with other upgrades with respect to the QEH as well as the other health infrastructure. Barbadians will see very soon the opening of the new geriatric hospital at Waterford, and therefore this intervention with respect to the polyclinics across Barbados will be critical for how we are also going to be able to help better manage health outcomes in Barbados. What we will see as part of the civil works under this specific component, sir, will be the construction of 2 new specialized primary care clinics, one at Eunice Gibson in St. Michael, and Randall Phillips, sir, in Christchurch, where you will have two new facilities being done. Additionally, sir, there will be refurbishment in relation to 7 polyclinics, which will be Winston Scott Polyclinic, which currently operates 24-hour service, sir. Morris Bay Polyclinic, the St. Philip Polyclinic, Frederick Miller Polyclinic, Edgar Cochrane Polyclinic, sir, Branford Tate Polyclinic, as well as the David Thompson Health and Social Services Complex in St. John. And part of this is to ensure that the specialized clinics that are intended to be delivered, the maternity and child clinics, sir, sexual health clinics, support clinics, emergency clinics, sir, as well as an expanded delivery of dental services across Barbados, especially, sir, given the significant increase in children with autism and other disabilities, sir, that require anesthesiologists to be there. These are the kinds of interventions that we will see as part of this programming in order to ensure that those persons who need that specific type of intervention can also have access to that. In addition, sir, we'll be equipping the 9 polyclinics with the necessary medical equipment and furniture in order to ensure then that the quality service that we want people to access, that can be done as part of this. So this overall program, sir, fits within what the government's broader social investment is taking place. And as I had indicated, sir, at the very beginning, because we were not in a position at any time in the last 7 years, given what we have gone through fiscally, economically, and the like, we had to restructure the debt, sir, in order to do more for people. We are now in a position, sir, to be able to identify specific financing for these interventions, and therefore part of these two resolutions that are before the chamber today, sir, are very much, sir, people-centered with respect to a solid program, sir, of reinvesting within our social sector, sir, in order to get not just access to services, but to ensure that citizens can live effectively, sir, their best lives. And it starts with us being able to ensure that the quality of services that can be delivered within not just the polyclinic system, but equally, sir, as we embark on the community health programs, or expand the community health programs that have already been implemented, then we are in a position then to make sure then that those services can be delivered, accessed, and that people, sir, the people will have access right across the country to improve health services. Now, I hope that will translate, sir, into better health outcomes. Because at the end of the day, sir, whilst the government is focusing on how to deliver services better, I know that the Ministry of Health and Wellness has been busy trying to enhance the wellness part of the portfolio by getting people to be a little more active, sir, and to perhaps eat a little less sauce on a Saturday, sir, and a few things which may be vices. At the end of the day, just a little less. Just a little less. I ain't telling you to left it out. I tell you eat a little less. Because it is the margins, sir. It is the margins that matter. And therefore, if people are a little more active, drinking a little less sweet drinks when the day comes, sir, and literally drink more water, yes, eating some more vegetables that the Minister of Agriculture and his team working hard to produce, then it means then, sir, that over time, the health, literally, of the nation will improve. And whilst there may be things within your family history that may be difficult to avoid, at the end of the day, sir, we must also take personal responsibility for what we eat, what we drink, what we do, how we do it, as part, sir, of the equation with respect to what the government is seeking to do with respect to social reinvestment. And this is not to be taken lightly, sir. These are two very, very important aspects of people's lives that every day in this country, sir, people make decisions about when they're going to go to the doctor, sir, when they're going to go to the dentist, whether they have enough money to fix the roof, sir, or this piece of siding board, or whatever it is, sir. These things matter in the lives of people every day in this country. And I'm very proud, sir, to know that having negotiated these two specific loans as part of a program which the Saudi Fund for Development is happy to support, that we can come to this Parliament and demonstrate to the people that the reason that the government has been working so hard to get things put in place is because, sir, as you know, progress is not permanent. Because if it's one thing Barbadians must have learned by now, is that whenever the other administration takes place, or let me put it this way, whenever there's another administration other than the Barbados Labour Party, that progress is often eroded. And therefore, we have to ensure, sir, that our policies are not just financed, but executed such that people know the benefits of those policies, and that we can identify, sir, very clearly that a government should not cancel a loan, sir, should not cancel a loan that has been negotiated for the benefit of people, sir, unless you have something else immediately lined up as the alternative to execute. And therefore, when you cancel 80 million Barbados dollars, that would have redound to the benefit of the people right across Bridgetown, sir, right across Bridgetown, with no plan B, plan C, plan D, plan nothing, sir. I think that that is a failure of imagination. It is a failure of governance, sir. And this Barbados Labour Party, sir, does not in any way associate itself with anything like that. These two resolutions that are before this chamber, sir, these will help transform the lives of Barbadians in much the same way that the work that we're doing within education, sir, will transform the lives of Barbadians. And at some point later this year, sir, we will be bringing a couple more resolutions to this chamber that will also demonstrate why those interventions will also help transform the lives of Barbadians. And therefore, as we put these agreements in place, have them executed, sir, Barbadians will see not just the physical implementation of it, but I hope that once the polyclinics are completed, once the neighborhood upgrades are completed, once the housing upgrades are completed, sir, that people will get a sense of pride that there's a government that is caring, that is fiscally responsible, sir, and that will ensure that the quality of public goods and public services being offered, sir, are of the highest standard. And therefore, their lives, as a result, sir, I hope they will see their lives not just matter to the government, but will have an easier path through life. Now, with the work being done in education, sir, as well as the Ministry of Training and Tertiary Education, wonderful set of opportunities never seen in Barbados for ordinary citizens, sir. Wonderful opportunities. So you don't have to wait until your house done to get training, sir. That's available online. The Ministry of People Empowerment has already partnered with one of the telecoms companies to ensure that the most vulnerable homes in this country, sir, that they have access to internet so that they can access those training courses, so that there's no excuse for anybody saying today, sir, that there's no opportunity. The government is working. And therefore, every citizen must see themselves and must recognize that they too have a responsibility for upholding Barbados. As Barbados is investing in you and your family must invest in not just your personal development, but that of your community. And therefore, the government, through these two resolutions here today, sir, in this chamber, intend to demonstrate why we believe investing in the development of people will matter most, sir, more than anything else that we may ever invest in this country. Because it is the people of Barbados, sir, it is the people who we represent, sir, and who we come from, that insist, or should insist, that we, as their representative, make the best decision, sir, on their behalf. And I believe that these two resolutions today, sir, are an example as to what a responsible government looks like. And so, Mr. Speaker, I am absolutely pleased. I'm absolutely pleased with these two resolutions that are before the chamber. I certainly look forward to the lively debate I'm sure will ensue in this place. And to the extent, sir, that there is anything for me to respond to that is constructive, I'll be happy to do so. But let me say this, the Barbados Labour Party, sir, it has always been committed to creating a better life for our people. And these two resolutions, sir, before this chamber are part of the puzzle pieces of creating that better life for our people. And with those few words, sir, I beg to move that this resolution do not pass.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I know you did it. Be very quiet. Kill a whole man.
I'm obliged to you, Mr.
Don't holler
Speaker. I do note that earlier today, the Honourable Member for St. Thomas, with her usual passion of speech, received very generous applause from her parliamentary colleagues during a speech in which I believe she said that she has never seen a society fall apart in this way. And I thought that rather interesting. I repeat, I credit the Honourable Member for St. Thomas as having said in this place today that she has never seen a society fall apart in this way. And prior to that, the impassioned Honourable Member described her constituency as Lost Thomas. Curiously enough, in the absence of the Chairman of the Cabinet, her colleagues felt the freedom to applaud her for those truths uttered with certain conspicuous absences from this chamber today. I applaud her too. Now, we come though to this repeated exercise of a government that continues to borrow money. And I don't know if the people of Barbados are becoming used to the exercise, but they're not going to become used to an exercise that scares them. This country exists with a certain trepidation whenever this government comes to this parliament almost every month and announces to the people of Barbados that it intends to indebt not so much the government, but the people of this country, and to be more particular, future generations of this country will endure with yet another albatross around their necks. I heard the Honourable Member say that government is a continuum, and he is not incorrect, and one therefore extrapolates from what the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central has said, is that long after he has left this place, the loans that he announces here will continue to burden those who are unborn and those who have been recently born and those who are in their teens. This government has come to announce the landing of yet another albatross in this country, and it is not a pretty sight. Admittedly, though, this is not the largest of the loans. The resolution announces it in Saudi currency, but it is far less than the $500 million that the government borrowed a few weeks ago. This time it is, I think, a little less than $100 million. But the ruling party is not going to be obligated to repay that. It is the people of this country who will have yet another addition to their national burdens. And this government continues to burden the people of this country. Now, when the honorable member began, he said that in some quarters, and I'm quoting as best I can, in some quarters there is a view that we are borrowing too much. And the honorable member said immediately after that, it is a false narrative. Now, when the honorable member says it is a false narrative, I'm not sure if he is denying that the country is borrowing too much, or whether he is denying that the country is borrowing at all. One would think, however, logically, that the honorable member for Christchurch East Central is now saying to this country, we are not borrowing too much. And it is a rather daring position to take. It is very daring to come and say to a country that lives under the weight of poor economic performance that the country is not borrowing too much. And the country is asking the logical question, where are the repayments going to come from? Now, the honorable member again built his argument on a premise. Again, a premise which, to my mind, stands without much logic. He criticizes, the honorable member criticizes a previous government for embarking on the borrowing of $40 million. And he says, not his words, mine, that they must have committed one of the cardinal sins in canceling that loan. Oh, how the people of Barbados wish that this government were wise enough to cancel some of these loans. I've never heard a government criticized for canceling a loan, because the previous government must have taken the position that to take the loan at that particular point in time was imprudent. It was financially imprudent. And cancellation, how do you criticize cancellation? How do you criticize cancellation if you believe that at the time it is an imprudent exercise to embark on the taking of that loan? But we will come to loans. We will come to loans that this government has taken, loans that this government has not given account to the people of Barbados for in terms of their expenditures. And I am going to embarrass this government now by referring to the Comey loan. By referring to the Comey loan. Let the laughter die down. The honorable member for Christchurch East Central criticizes the previous government for canceling a loan. He is stopping me today. I repeat, the honorable member for Christchurch East Central criticized the previous government for canceling a $40 million loan. This government took a loan of $25 million from a now well-known bank for the purpose of, and I quote, cricket development. Has this government given account to this country? Has this government given account to the Barbados Cricket Association? Has this government given account to all of the many clubs across Barbados as to the expenditure of that loan of $25 million received for cricket development? No, it has not. It has not. What we saw was a paint job done on a relatively new stadium. What we saw was the importation of a temporary stand at Kensington. That is not cricket development. Cricket is not a paint job at Kensington. Cricket is not the purchase of a temporary stand at Kensington. Cricket is a game, and more than a game in this country, it is a central portion of a local culture. That thing we call cricket, that central portion of this culture has not benefited. It has not. I'm a member of a cricket club, and I have seen no enhancement, neither of the facility nor of the game. I have seen a game that continues to languish in this society. I've seen a Barbados Cricket League that has reduced from 120 clubs to about 12. And we have a Ministry of Sport. I have seen the game in decline, and it is a painful thing to observe. But I don't wish to digress. The people of this country were told by this government that $25 million was borrowed for, and I quote, cricket development. The point I make is that this government cannot with any credibility, nor with any moral authority, criticize any loans or the cancellation of any loans done by a previous government, because this government stands guilty today of taking loans in the name of the people of Barbados and not giving account for the expenditures which flow from the receipt of those loans. In other words, the people of Barbados do not know where this money is going. Shakespeare said, something is rotten in the state of Denmark, something is rotten in this new Republican state. That something as basic as loan expenditures cannot be shown to the people of Barbados, and that's the Comey loan of which I speak. I'm going to come to the Oistins Polyclinic claim very shortly. But they also say that they took $5 million out of the Comey loan and sent it to Oistins. That's what this government said, that they took a loan of let us do it in Barbados currency, that they took a loan of 50 million Barbados dollars from a foreign entity. And of that, for 50 million, they sent 5 million to Oistins to refurbish the preponderant aspect of the Oistins development. Really is nothing more than a generous splash of red paint, because there are still drainage problems in the Oistins project. Every time it drizzles, the area in front of Sheffet, obliquely opposite the fish market, and the area between the Bay Garden and the ocean, flooding as usual. Where's the 5 million? When will this government speak with moral authority on the expenditures incurred after the grant of loans? So that is what we mean when we speak about a lack of transparency and a lack of moral authority in relation to loans. But the country continues to be concerned about these frequent visits to international lending agencies. Now, on a previous occasion, I have noted that 2 previous governments made an exit from IMF arrangements, and they made those exits with funds locally generated within this national economy. This government now has the ignominious distinction of being the first government to exit an IMF loan with another loan taken more expensively. The IMF loan was in the region of, I think, 4%. And the people of Barbados who now understand must know that it is financial madness to borrow monies at 8% to repay a loan at 4%. That's financial madness. That is financial madness. But apart from the insanity, the financial insanity of the arrangement, the government now is borrowing money to repay loans. And that is an admission of something else that is happening in this economy. And all this sweet talk from the government is not any longer going to conceal the fact that this economy is in serious crisis. That if in 1982, 83, a government which will find favor with this government now, after 18 months repaid an IMF loan with locally generated monies, and 10 years later, another government, after 14 months of having entered into an arrangement with the IMF, repays the IMF loan, not with another loan, but with monies generated locally. I repeat that this government now has the ignominious distinction of being the first government to repay a 4% loan with an 8% loan. Financial madness. So let all this sweet talk end. I know that this is a time of year when Barbadians are looking for some festive relief. Crop over and so on. And all the parties and the entertainment. Perhaps this is the occasion on which the government sneaks into this parliament amidst the noise. They sneak into this parliament amidst the noise to come and enter into these arrangements, which reflect nothing more than financial madness. And here we are today, having crawled out of the Saudi bank to take another loan, yet another loan, and Barbadians are not to be disturbed. Barbadians are to hear criticisms of a past government. Well, when those criticisms are being made of a past government, let not those criticisms obscure the financial madness that is now occurring in this country under the hands of this government. The massive indebtedness to which this government is committing not itself, but committing the people of Barbados towards. Let us now, therefore, unearth the problems that are probably hidden within this economy. How would those past governments have repaid those monies locally? Clearly, government receives revenues, and clearly government receives revenues from various economic sectors. Tourism, for one, has historically since, I think, the 60s, 70s, perhaps more so, would have become the major industry in this country. And from then to this day, revenues are generated within that industry and government becomes a beneficiary. And becoming a beneficiary, it is able to meet its indebtedness, or meet its obligation, rather, to pay its debts. So tourism has been one. International business has been another. Of course, this government has never admitted to the people of Barbados that there has been severe decline during this regime of receipts from international business. So when the talk is pretty, And the music is loud and the festivity rages across the country. When the music dies down and September comes, it becomes a sober autumn, perhaps. When the people rediscover that under this government, substantial revenues from international business have been lost. Where's the laughter? Drowned out by the music of crop over? Well, let this government explain to the people of this country why revenues from international business have declined and have declined so substantially. And it is that decline that contributes to the government's inability to pay its debts. And that is why the government is repaying debts with more debts, with more loans. Let the people of this country understand that. Agriculture. I think the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central, and I want to assure him that he's not an errand boy. He is just sent here to say things